but I keep looking for a silver cloud or a silver lining in a black cloud. And in this horrible storm that we're living through, I think I have found one. And that one is that I'm able to bring you guests who I would not otherwise be able to get for you because they are far away or they are just too busy with their own careers to be able to haul up to Connecticut to do the show. And that's the case today. Today, I have JJ Ramberg joining us. JJ is the co-founder of Good Pods. She has started multiple other multi-million dollar companies. She was the host of MSNBC's Your Business for over 10 years, I believe. And she's also one of the nicest, most genuinely giving people you'd ever want to meet. So I'm thrilled to have her today. Hi, JJ. How are you?
Oh, that is such a nice intro. That last line is the one that I really thank you. I appreciate that.
But it is so true. I find every time I've talked to you, you have been the most giving, delightful person. And quite frankly, you do have a little bit of the star thing going on, right? You were on TV in New York for over a decade, running a show. I want to say you have interviewed thousands of business owners.
Thousands.
Thousands.
So many.
So I want to dig into that too, but you're still so accessible. I mean, I call and say, hey, would you help me out with this? And you're like, sure. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Well, look, I'm so happy to be being interviewed by you. I'm so glad that this worked out.
I am too. So why don't we jump right in? You have started many successful companies. Tell me about Good Pods. I know that is your latest.
Sure. And I am a woman of a certain age who is starting a brand new company at this certain age with my brother, who is also of a certain age, and my sister. So Good Pods is a new app. It's a podcast player where you can follow your friends and influencers and podcasters to see what they're listening to by episode. So, for instance, what used to happen to me all the time is I'd be ready to go out for a run and I'd want to listen to something new. And I find myself just going, oh, what should I listen to? And scrolling through my phone. Next thing I know, 30 minutes is gone and my run time is gone. So now I just go on to Good Pods and it looks like any social media where I get a feed and I see what people are listening to. And it's my friends. And then we have people like Kim Kardashian on there who you can follow, or Dan Harris, who is a host at ABC News and also hosts the amazing podcast 10% Happier, and all kinds of people and your friends. So that's what we launched, Good Pods.
I love it. So it's all right. So it's social media. You can follow influencers, just follow your friends as well to get an idea of what they're watching or listening to, I guess.
Listening to, yeah. So you sign up, you download Good Pods from the App Store, iOS, shortly, if not
Is it
already.
a free app or is it a paid app?
It's a free app. Signing up for it is basically the same as signing up for Instagram or Twitter. And then you listen to podcasts on there and they go to your feed, or you can hide it from your feed if you don't want people to know. And then you choose people to follow and you can see what they're listening to. So, for instance, we had this one, this woman listened to this one about white noise. The podcast was called You Need to Calm Down. This was pre-coronavirus, actually, during our beta test. And I watched it get passed from friend to friend to friend to friend. Another one also, The Art of the Exit, this really cool podcast. And it was an episode about an art heist. One person had listened to it, and then I saw their friend listen to it, and then their friend listen to it, and then their friend listen to it. So people are discovering all these really cool episodes of podcasts that they would have never found otherwise because it's frankly just too overwhelming. There are 800,000 podcasts and more than 30 million episodes out there.
Wow, are there really? Because I mean, I know exactly what you mean, that you go to find one, and I often don't listen to podcasts because I don't know what to listen to.
Well, that's the thing. And what's so amazing about podcasts is, I think about why I went into journalism, and it's because I really love this idea of getting to step into somebody's world for a little bit and really immerse myself in that world. And that's what I get out of podcasts, right? So I can go to a really cool science podcast, and then true crime, and then history, and then something funny. And now on my feed, I follow people who really know where to find the good ones of all of those things. And so I can just scroll down and be like, oh, I'm in the mood for science. Look, Gordon had something really cool, right? Or I want true crime. My friend Lori knows the best true crime.
That is amazing. So when did you start? This is very recent.
Well, we just launched it. So I urge you and I beg you, everyone who's listening to this, please do me a favor and help us with the launch and go download Good Pods from the App Store.
Great. And I'm gonna put that on here. I'm gonna put Good Pods onto the screen so people, in case they're scrambling for something to note.
Fantastic. Thank you.
There we go.
Great. Good Pods. Right. So you can go download it now. And so it's been in beta for a few months now. We got the bugs out because for anyone who starts something new, you know, there are a lot of problems
Always
in the
bugs.
beginning. and so we're literally just sort of going out big with this right now.
Fantastic. Now this is I guess a follow-up in a way that you have. I think you started with Good Search. Is that right? And then you went to Good Shop. Can you tell us a little about those? Because I think those are not only businesses, but also social. I mean, you give back on those sites.
We do. So this is my second company that I have founded with my brother Ken. The first one, it started as Good Search and it became Good Shop. And what it is every time you shop online, we provide the best online coupons for thousands of stores. And then when you shop, a percentage of what you spend goes back to your favorite cause. You can choose anything you want or cash back to yourself. So we've donated more than $13 million to causes out there now.
That's amazing. And that's what I was just saying, that you've always found a way to give back in everything you do. So it shows in your companies, in everything. So now you started in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go? I mean, obviously journalism is TV, but I hear it was through sheer willpower and drive that you made that transition. So how'd you get into TV, into journalism there?
Well, TV I started right after college. I didn't even actually really know what I wanted to do after school, but I got the opportunity to be the receptionist, the temporary receptionist at NBC Nightly News, and I thought, oh my God, I love this. And so I stayed on and worked there for a while. And then at some point, after a few years working in TV, I worked ultimately for Dateline NBC. I decided I wanted to try something else. And so I went to business school and then I worked in business and then I missed TV. So then I came back to TV and then I quit TV so I could start what became Good Shop. And then I started that and then I got called by MSNBC I'm like missing my timeline now. Anyhow, the point is I kept going back and forth between TV and business. Oh no, I forgot business. I don't know. All this happened, TV and business. And so for 13 years I did both. And now my show on MSNBC ended about a year ago and I am 100% full-time working on Good Pods.
Okay. And so when you were on your business, because you've got so much experience there, I'd love to just, grab a little bit of knowledge from you, because a lot of people who'd watch something, watch this are women who want to start businesses, who want to do something else, something exciting. And I know not only have you done the TV and your own company, and I think you also wrote a book in there somewhere.
I wrote a couple books. Yeah.
A couple books, just wrote a couple books. What is some of the things, like if you look back to your 13 years, you said, at MSNBC with your business, what are some of the nuggets that you were able to get from all those experts you have on? What are some things you really took back with you that you could pass on?
If I could start, because I know this is a particular audience that we're speaking to. So before I even talk about what I learned from TV, if I could just talk about a little bit what I've learned sort of in my life. So I grew up as the daughter of a full-time mom who did a ton of volunteering. So she worked a lot. She wasn't paid for it. But she was sort of very ambitious in her volunteerism and her momism. And then I'm one of four kids. And then when my second oldest brother graduated from college, he had an idea for a company. I was, I guess, in junior high or high school then. And my mom said, okay, let me do it with you. This was pre-internet, so it wasn't common for, stay-at-home moms to then, or full-time moms to then become CEOs, or just out of college kids to start companies. But they did it together, and I had a front row seat to watching my late 40s mom with no paid work experience start a company that eventually became very, very successful. And so what I learned from that is it is never too late to start something new. It's never too late to learn something new. And you should just have no ego around anything, right? I always thought it'd be cool at some point in my life to just go into an entirely different field and like start as an intern, right? If I wanted to go be a scientist, no one's going to hire me as that right now, but wouldn't it be neat to go intern in a science lab or something? And so to go back to what I learned from, well, why don't I just pause there actually before I go on a monologue?
Yeah, it's a good monologue though, because you're right that we come from a time, I mean, you and I have a certain age where moms often were at home. And now, and they had the opportunity then, but now more than ever, they have the opportunity to just grow things. And it just takes courage, like your mother, right? Who didn't have the experience. She's went, let's just do this.
Let's just do this. And by the way, if it fails, it fails. And
Yeah.
if I don't know everything that I'm doing, well, then aren't I lucky that I am of this age where I have a lot of friends that I can go to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I can. So I just thought, so I started my first company, what Good Search was, I don't know, 14 or 15 years ago, right? It was entirely different than starting this one where I mean, I wish I could show you my Excel sheet of how many people I spoke to before even doing anything for Good Pods, because I just have all these years of relationships built up with people, right? And so I could call my friends and they're like, oh, you should talk to this person. You should talk to this person. And so I spoke to so many people, and it would have been much harder to get to those people had I been younger because I didn't have a lifetime of meeting people then.
Well, you have a different network, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
you're younger, you have more of, I think, the people who are just physically near to you. When I say physically near, obviously nowadays it also means social media and all this, but it's the people that you happen across versus when you're older, you start to really meet those people who have the same interests, who are going in the same direction that you are, right? That you, for business, you have all these business experts now that you just wouldn't have access to in your 20s because you haven't been down that
Yeah.
road.
Sure, and you definitely get confidence as you get older. That said, in some ways, I can understand why people might lose confidence, right? They might have left the workforce and they lose confidence. And so, and I have a number of friends who dropped out of the workforce for a while to take care of their kids and came back in. I just think it's knowing that we are at this kind of amazing time in our lives where we have all these years built up of knowledge and of all the things we can do. Look, I mean, managing a household is harder than managing anything. Raising kids is harder than anything and is completely transferable to other kinds of work. And so it's, again, just having the confidence to do that and say, let me give this a shot.
And that's really what it is. I think it's the confidence. So,
Mhm.
all right. So give us some nuggets now. So we know a
Okay.
little bit about your
Done.
background. Although I want to mention, because I always find this interesting, that so many of us come from immigrants. I think your grandparents were both immigrants and were both very successful, again, as entrepreneurs.
Um, on my dad's side, they were immigrants. Yeah, my grandfather came here. He was a peddler when he first got to the United States, literally going door to door selling things, and then eventually opened up furniture stores. My other grandfather came from Philadelphia to California, where I grew up. But he was, while not an immigrant, he was like he was a real entrepreneur, like made money, lost money, made money, lost money. He had every kind of company you could think of. He was the first one to introduce frozen pizza to Los Angeles, which is our claim to fame in the Ramberg family. So yeah, I come from entrepreneurs. But to finally answer your question about the nuggets, after more than a decade of interviewing thousands of entrepreneurs, the thing that I found every successful entrepreneur had was not, do you have a fancy degree or are you well connected, anything like that. The one thing everyone had was, can you deal with failure? Because ultimately things are going to fail and people deal with it in different ways. But the fact that they can deal with it means that they have what it takes to actually make something succeed.
I've never heard it said like that. where entrepreneurs to be successful, you have to be able to deal with failure. And I think, again, women of a certain age, that's true with everything they do, is you have to be good at failure. I mean, when raising your kids, right? Because they crash and burn. Your relationship can go up and down, whatever that relationship might be. And maybe embracing failure and knowing that you'll get past it
Well,
makes you
I think
successful in everything.
I mean, it's the ability to say, okay, this failed and not have it destroy you. Right. So, I mean, sure, everyone wants to go hide under the cover sometimes. And maybe you think, what if X, Y, and Z? But the ability to, get past that pretty quickly, or maybe never feel that at all in the first place, to say, okay, now how do I move forward from this? How did it not crush me so much that I can't go on?
And so some of the things you've done, what has been a failure for you? What do you think is something that you were able to overcome? How'd you do that?
Oh my God, I've had so many. I mean, we all have, right? So
Pick a
many
good
failures.
failure.
But I think, so I'll give you one, not from business, but from TV. So when I first joined CNN, I graduated business school. I worked in for an internet company called cooking.com for a while. And then I joined CNN, and my real goal was I wanted to be a reporter. I had been a producer before at NBC before going to grad school, and I really wanted to be a reporter. And they gave me a chance early on, and I was awful. And I don't say this as like, haha, it's so funny, I was so awful then. I mean, it was like soul crushingly awful when they gave me the big chance to finally sort of get to go on TV. It was right before I got there. It wasn't planned. I just happened to be producing a story and they needed someone on air to talk about it. Um, and and the producer, who I didn't know, I worked in LA, and the whole team worked in New York mostly. Um, Afterwards, she said to me, "Look, we're never putting you on air again," and that was awful to hear, but well deserved because I was really bad at it. And for some reason, I just kept going. I don't know what it was in me. I always say, well, what happened after that is my boss said, like, we'll still give you a chance, but when you're ready. So I would send him tapes every month of me. I'd produce a story for the woman I worked with who was on air, and then I'd produce another version with me. And every month he would say, "You're still not good enough. You're still not good enough." And I sort of thought about it like, I definitely felt, rejected, but not dejected. I don't know how or what it was in me, but I just thought, like, okay, I'm getting feedback. And so if I just use that feedback, and I really want this badly enough and I work hard enough at it, eventually it will work out. And it took a while, right? It took a whole year of sending these tapes in and him saying to me, "You are not good," until finally he said, "Okay, you're ready."
But it was your passion, right? So I think that's another learning for us, that if you really want to do something, you just keep at it.
I really, yeah, I really wanted to do it, and I had a job that I liked, right? So I did my job all day, and then I would do this at night, and um, yeah. So I just, yeah, that was a big failure early on, but then it worked out.
Well, it worked out, right? Because you had the drive. But I think, so like you said, it's okay to fail.
I had the drive, and I had, again, you have to just like put your ego aside there. How many times can you hear you're terrible at something?
And still come through. I mean, I think that's what's amazing, is that every time you heard it, you went, just need to get better, just need to get better. And here you are.
Well, I had nice people around me also who were saying, "You're bad, but here's how you."
You're awful, but hey, we love you anyway, right? So it looks like we lost our connection here for a moment. Hopefully you'll be back with us. Oh, and we've lost JJ Ramberg. Hopefully she'll be back. I'll talk about her for just a little bit here. So JJ Ramberg, who is our guest, who we lost, she is in the New York area. She was on MSNBC's Your Business for 13 years, interviewing everybody in business you can imagine, from CEOs of huge corporations to small entrepreneurs, and really garnered so much information from there. That's all right. That's all right. I've been entertaining our viewers. No problem. There you are. We switched places. And if you could scooch a little bit to your right, we lost you a little bit. There we go. All right.
Sorry, everyone.
That's right. I
Welcome
was
to
just telling him your
technology.
background a little bit, some of the people you've interviewed. We're all good. This is what happens. We were just talking about this again in this time of the black cloud of COVID. Many shows have gone to a live format like this. And you know what? Things happen.
It's
And this
working.
is, let's embrace the failure and keep going.
This is real
So
life.
this is real life. So tell me, a lot of people have a book in them. I often hear people say, yeah, business people, speakers, actors, I want to write a book. How did you go about that since you've been down that road a few times?
Well, the first book, I've written two books. The first book I wrote was sort of a compendium to the show, and it was called It's Your Business. And we just came up with the idea and went kind of the normal route where we went and interviewed. I'm not the interview. We worked with an agent and we worked really hard on putting the book together. And then we sold the book to a publisher. And I mean, I guess it's pretty traditional.
Okay.
What I would say is it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to write a book. I mean, you know, your brother's written a zillion of them very successfully. And so it was just, I mean, it was just carving out the time and putting pen to paper. The second book we wrote was much more of a passion project, which was a children's book called The Startup Club. And it is for kids in grammar school. And it's like a fun fiction book about kids who want to start a business.
Ooh, you know what? All right. Got to throw that on screen because teachers who are watching this right now, I know there are a lot of teachers looking for content for students. And that might be an interesting thing, depending on, I don't know, what age group was that book for?
Probably like second to fourth grade.
Okay. So they should be doing some of their own reading, but parents can also read it to them as well. But I think it opens up a new area for them, right? Kids
it's
in
such
business.
a fun book. It's such a fun book. It's about two best friends who start a business, and then the mean girl in school copies their business, and their brother gets involved, and then the girls have a problem about who's doing what, and then there's some social responsibility, and they learn math. They learn what a P&L is, a P&L statement, and you know they learn all kinds of business things. They learn marketing, all through this really fun story. So
Which is great. Give me the title again. I just want to throw it on screen here.
Oh, great. Thank you. The Startup Club.
See if I got that right. All righty. Well, I guess startup should be one word, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Startup Club is a children's book.
Yep.
So people can go look for that. Can they find it on Amazon?
You can find it on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. So again, I just want to put a little tidbit out there because, as I said, right now we have teachers and they're going, all right, think. What else can we do? So I think this might be a really fun, thing to share.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. It's fun. Kids really like it.
Great. And now, so what do you see in your future? I mean, I know that right now you are working on Good Pods, right? That's consuming right now because I know any startup can be very consuming. How do you expect that to grow? Does it become a commercial? And like, do you get an audience and then make it a commercial endeavor? What is the life cycle of an online business like that, an app?
Yeah, so we just launched it, right? And we are in version 1.0, and we have all kinds of ideas to grow with it right now. So the way it works right now, again, is you go onto Good Pods, you follow your friends and influencers, and you see what they're listening to. But you can also have discussions with podcasters. You can have discussions between yourselves. We're basically, there are all these things happening in the podcast world all around right now. If you go on Twitter, you'll see a zillion, what podcast are you listening to? Or, there's Slack groups, there are Facebook groups. We're trying to take all of that and put it into a place that is centralized where you can actually listen to podcasts as well. So, we have big dreams for this. And what you see on the app right now is just the very beginning of it. And right now, we're just launching. So now we're just getting the word out to people so that they join and tell their friends as well.
And do you see yourself? So, I mean, obviously, this looks like it's going to be a project that's going to hold you down for a while. Do you see yourself?
I sure hope so. Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you see yourself going back to TV at some point?
Maybe when my job at MSNBC ended, I was there for 13 years. I did a project for the BBC World News called Follow the Food, which for anyone who's interested in the future of agriculture and food distribution, it's you can still find it online. Follow the Food on BBC World News, and that was incredibly interesting for me, to enter into something that was new for me and get to report this, and the reporting was from all over the world. I hosted it, but I did the North America reporting, and that was fun. And so maybe I'm having a really nice time right now, actually being the behind the scenes person. I spent so much of my career creating content. It's actually really fun for me to have a platform where other content creators are surfacing. Um, but I love TV, so maybe I'll go back to it at some point.
And now with your Good Pods, how do you say you can listen to any podcast through that app? Is that so? Does that powered through like Apple to Apple or iPod, or
Yeah,
where's that powered?
you would basically use it instead of a podcast player that you're using now.
Okay.
So it becomes your podcast player, and you use it just like you would any other one. So you subscribe to podcasts, or you can search for them, do anything you can on other podcast players. But the added benefit, sort of the magic of Good Pods, is this ability to follow your friends,
Right.
and also to talk back and forth with people about podcasts.
Yeah, awesome. So you can find something great to listen to. So I just want to ask a little bit about the app process. We have a few minutes left.
Sure.
And that's another thing that people ask about, right? When they want to start businesses for themselves, they'll say, oh, I have this idea for an app.
Yep.
What's the process of creating an application?
I'm sorry. You see me typing here because you can see my big fingers.
We see giant fingers.
Because I just realized that I, on this very app, have a meeting with my team coming up. I'm like just going to be a couple minutes late with my enormous fingers in this picture. So here's what I say. This is not just an app or any business. Every business sounds amazing when you are sitting around talking with your friends or your partner about it, and you are in the room and this is something you want. Every business sounds great. Mm-hmm. So the very first thing is, in any way you can, go stress test your idea, right? And it's not just about asking people. I think it paused for a second. Go stress test your idea. No, it's not just about asking your best friend, hey, would you use this? Because your best friend is going to say yes. People are very wary of saying no to you. And so if there's some way you can test it that mimics reality in some way, if you can build a very cheap version of something, get it in people's hands, that is worth a whole lot to you before you go spend a lot of money and time. So anyhow, the first thing to do when coming up with a business idea or an app is to try any way you can to get a real sense of, is there a need for it out there? Does something exist? Is it something that only 5 people want and you're one of them, so no one's going to pay for it? So that's number one.
Well, so it sounds like a lot of people, again, they'll talk about, oh, I want to try something new. I want to go into business. I need to raise money. But it sounds like before you raise tons of money, you need to make sure the idea is sound. Is right. Well, because usually they say, oh, that the barrier is money, but it's not necessarily money. It could just be, you have a lousy idea. That's your barrier.
Well, yeah. And the truth is, you're probably, especially right now, you're not going to get money unless you have a proven concept right now. So any way that you can be really down and dirty about launching something and prove it out first, good on you. Also, then if you ever get to the point of raising money, it'll be at a higher valuation because you've proven that there's a need for it out there. But I think, look, there's so many ways to be scrappy right now to just start something. You can start a lot of things for not that much.
Just have to think about what it is and flesh it out, right?
You have to flesh it out. Yeah, go ahead.
Nope, sorry, I was going to say, believe it or not, we're at the bottom of the half hour already, and this we got to hold tight because it's not just on social media, it's on the airwaves. So I want to thank you so much for being my guest today. I can't believe how fast the time went, and sharing your experiences because you are inspirational.
Oh, Lee, thank you. Thank you so much. It was so fun to talk to you. I'm glad that this happened.
All right. Thanks, JJ. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.